You've been told 65 is the magic number for retirement. And when you pull out the spreadsheet, it says, hey, work longer, save more, delay everything. But when researchers surveyed thousands of actual retirees, people who've actually made the decision and are living with it today, the ideal age wasn't age 65, and it wasn't even age 70. And here's the key. Almost half the people who kept working past the actual ideal retirement age said they wished they'd stopped 4 years sooner. The real cost wasn't financial. It was the time they didn't get back. And nailing this number is critically important to maximizing your retirement. So today, I want to walk you through exactly what the data says, why most retirement planning ignores the single biggest variable, and the three-part framework to find your specific number, not some generic one-size-fits-all number. And stick around to the end of the video. I've got a scoring tool that will actually put all three parts into a single number that you can actually act on today. Hi, I'm Jacob Wade. I'm a financial coach and former enrolled agent with a passion for investing, retirement, and everything financial independence. I'm also with Wall Street Zen, where our quant team analyzes thousands of data points across 4,600 stocks every single day. And again, if you like retirement topics like this, please hit the like button below. It actually tells me to make more videos along these lines. Now, if you ask someone when they're planning to retire, you almost always get the exact same answer. Probably around age 65, maybe a little bit later. There's not really a plan behind it. No real actual number they're trying to get to, just a vague anchor point that's been baked into our culture for decades. And here's the thing, 65 wasn't designed around your financial situation. It wasn't designed around your health or your goals. It was simply designed around when the government program kicks in. That's it, right? Social Security, full retirement age, when you're allowed to collect the full amount of Social Security that you've earned, was 65 for many years, and it's bumped up to around 67 now for people born 1960 and later. And a lot of our parents and grandparents qualified for full retirement benefits starting at age 65. And Medicare still kicks in at age 65 today. So that's why the whole retire at 65 is so ingrained in our culture today. But according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute Retirement Confidence Survey they had recently, over 48% of retirees left the workforce earlier than they planned. And it's not because everything had lined up perfectly and they had a plan, but because something intervened, a layoff, a health issue, or simply just burnout, or maybe they just looked at their numbers and realized they can actually afford to stop sooner. They just didn't know it until that event happened. And here's a crazy stat. Only 10% of retirees actually retired later than they had expected to. So if you're building a whole plan around age 65 as your finish line, you're targeting a date that the majority of people actually never hit, at least not on their own terms. So the point isn't to pick a new date today, but start building flexibility into your plan so that when the moment arrives, or whether you engineer it or it happens to find you, you can say yes without scrambling. So I want to look at the actual data of when people retire, because most people have a mental idea of what it is, and it's probably wrong. So according to Gallup, more than half of Americans retire between age 61 and 65. Nearly 2/3 are out of the workforce entirely by age 69, and 1 in 5 retirees happen to retire before age 54, meaning a meaningful chunk of people are done working before most people have even started thinking seriously about retirement. So if you take that all together, the average retirement age in the United States is actually age 62. Now, when the retirees were surveyed on the ideal age to retire, the number they'd pick if they could go back and do it again, the answer was actually age 63, according to a study by Northwestern Mutual. Now, I think 63 is super interesting and shows it for a reason. Number one, you're likely to be healthy and mobile still, but you've also had decades of compounding working in your favor, so you're not retiring too early. But you're also just 2 years from Medicare, so that gap in health coverage can be manageable rather than a financial emergency. Something you can actually plan for. It's not, 10, 20 years. It's a manageable 2-year gap. Now, all that data is super interesting, but here's a caution before you read into that number too much. Age 63 is just the average, and averages are useful for understanding entire populations, but they're a lot less useful for making individual decisions. So the person who retired at 58 with a paid off house and a solid dividend portfolio pulled that average way down. But the person who worked until 71 because they loved their job pulled the average way up. So when we land on 63 here, you're really looking at the midpoint of a very wide range of different situations and possibilities. So 63 isn't your number. Your number is wherever your health, your finances, and your sense of purpose converge. And the rest of this video is about finding that intersection. Now, every retirement calculator is built around the same assumption. More time working equals a better outcome. So work longer, save more, delay Social Security, maximize the number. And purely from a math standpoint, that's not necessarily wrong, but there's a variable that none of those calculators can model. This is known as your health window. This is the time you have left as a mobile, energized retiree with the ability to travel and adventure as you choose. But by your late 60s, that window actually starts to close. And it's not dramatically for everyone, but it does close. And the travel you pictured may get harder. The physical activities you planned around become way less reliable, and the energy you assumed you'd have starts to look very different than it did at age 58. And while an extra $500,000 in savings sounds like a clear win in a projection model, if you were already financially ready at age 63 and you worked 3 more years to get there, 3 years of your best mobility, your best energy, your best health, that's not really a neutral trade, but it's hard to measure, right? It's a real cost that never shows up on the spreadsheet. So this is what I like to call a balanced retirement point. It's really the moment where the physical and emotional payoff of retiring outweighs the financial upside of staying just a little bit longer. And most people will never calculate this. And not because it's too complicated, but just nobody ever asks them to. They just run the calculations and they just live by the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will always tell you to work more. It'll always say just 1 more year, but it doesn't know what that year will actually cost you. So let's talk about what retirees actually wish they'd done differently, because this data is more useful than most retirement advice that you're going to find out there. Now, the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies surveyed retirees on their biggest regrets. Now, 76% said they wish they'd save more. Okay, yep, expected answer. 23% regretted claiming Social Security too early, though the other 77% were comfortable with when they decided to claim it. And a significant number said they never defined what they were actually retiring into, right? They left work without building anything to replace the structure that work gave them. Now, I will say, I think those are pretty predictable regrets, but here's one that isn't, and this is the one that got me. Almost half of retirees who delayed retirement said they wish they had retired 4 years sooner. They were retired, they were living it, and they said, I wish I would have done this 4 years ago. Think about what that means. 4 extra years of meetings, 4 extra years of commutes, deadlines, and somebody else's schedule. And when they finally stepped away, the verdict was almost universal. They didn't need the extra income. They needed the extra time, and you can't buy that back. Now, here's what that means for you as an investor. If nearly half the people who delayed retiring are registering that as a mistake in hindsight, the consensus is telling you something. The default assumption that working longer is the conservative, safe choice isn't actually supported by the data itself and what people are saying. For a lot of people, it's actually riskier because you're betting years of your highest quality time on returns that you may never spend. I'm going to say that again. You're betting years of your highest quality time on returns that you may never spend. There is a real cost to retiring too late. Now, that doesn't mean you're retiring before you're ready. It just means stop treating work longer as the automatically prudent move, the wise decision. The data just simply doesn't back it up, and people are telling you, don't do this, you're going to regret it. Now, by the way, if you're liking this video so far, please hit the subscribe button below it. Helps the channel and it helps you see when I release more videos like this. Now, let's address your fears around retirement directly, because honestly, retirement just gets framed as a risky thing, right? There's the risk of boredom, declining health, the loss of purpose, identity crisis. Those are real fears when you're retiring, and I'm not dismissing them, but the research actually tells a different story. If you worry about these things, there's a study by MassMutual that says 82% of retirees report feeling more relaxed, 75% say they experience less stress, and 67% say they're happier than when they were working. And there's a well-documented pattern that backs this up, and researchers call it the U curve of happiness. Now, life satisfaction tends to dip through your mid-career. This is a real thing. And you're under the weight of stress, the responsibility, the routine, but then it climbs up again as people move into retirement. And it's not because life gets easier, but you finally have the space to choose your own pace, apply a lifetime of experience, and spend time the way that you want to instead of the way that somebody else schedules it for you. So this sort of fear-based narrative that most people carry. Oh, what if I hate retirement? What if I can't handle it? It's not actually supported by what a majority of retirees are actually reporting. So again, those are real fears, but the data says you're going to love it. Now, I want to share with you a 3-part framework to figure out how close you actually are to retirement. But first, as a bonus, we've created a free report featuring 3 stocks we believe could double in the coming year. Now, all 3 were located using our market-beating quant rating system, and all of them have excellent upside potential. So you could just click the link below for access to the report, or just hit the QR code here, scan it, and you'll get free access. All right, finally, let's do this 3-part framework. Grab something to write with, because you're going to want to score yourself on your retirement readiness using this framework. So here it is. I want you to use 3 questions. For each one, you're going to give yourself a score of 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being high. And then we're going to add them all up at the end, and this is your retirement readiness score. All right, question number 1. How capable do you feel right now to enjoy retirement the way you're actually picturing it? Think about travel, energy, independence, daily movement. How mobile do you feel? Are you feeling healthy? Are you living in the body that can support the life that you plan on living in retirement? Now, be honest here, not aspirational. This is the most important question most people answer least honestly. So just be honest. Is my health ready for the retirement that I want to have? Again, score yourself 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being the highest readiness. All right, question number 2 is, how confident are you that your income, savings, and tax strategy can support you and your family for 30 plus years? Not just on paper, but in a plan that you actually trust. Now, if you're scoring yourself in the middle here, not in crisis mode, but you're not fully confident either, the issue is usually just one of 2 things. Either the plan hasn't been stress tested against a real distribution scenario, or you simply haven't had the right tools to model it properly. Now, on the planning side itself, Empower is actually worth knowing about. It's a tool I've been using for over a decade, and the retirement planner that's built into it is free to use. So you can click the link below for Empower and sign up for free and connect your financial accounts, and it'll model actual retirement planning for you. So you connect the accounts, run projections, and get a clear picture of where you actually stand against a 30-year runway. Now, this isn't a rough estimate. We're using real numbers based on your real portfolio, your accounts, your Social Security projected income, the number you're going to need in retirement, and tax strategy. Now, if you want to go further with this, Empower even has a professional advisory service, so you can connect with them and get a second set of eyes on the plan itself. But again, I would check it out. You can click the link below or just scan the QR code here to sign up for Empower, connect your accounts, and run through their free retirement planner to help boost your retirement confidence. Now, once you have a plan that you trust, the next question is whether your investments inside it are actually positioned to support that plan, right? Empower can show you the retirement planning, but what to invest in, that's where we come in. Wall Street Zen has something called the income strategy, and it's worth a look. It targets fundamentally healthy dividend stocks with the earning strength to grow payouts over time. Now, the all-time annualized return on this strategy specifically is over 25% per year, with roughly 5% of that coming directly from dividend yield. Now, current holdings inside this are available to Zen Strategies members. Again, link in the description below, or you can scan the QR code here to check that out if you want to start to build an income portfolio that can fund your retirement. All right, now that you have the financial planning pieces in place, question number 3 is all around your purpose. What does a great day in the life of your retirement actually look like? Ask yourself, what am I going to do? Not, oh, I'll travel or I'll be relaxing. A real day, like actually map this out. What does a fulfilling Tuesday in October look like? What are you doing? Who are you doing it with? If you can't actually describe this in detailed terms, that gap is worth closing before you make any final decisions on whether you're going to retire, because you need to retire to something, not away from something you hate. You need to retire toward something you love. And again, if you can't describe that, you might have to score yourself a little lower, or if you know exactly what you want to do, score yourself a 10. Okay, once you've scored yourself 1 to 10 on those 3 sections, it's time to go down through the scoring guide and see where you land in retirement readiness. Now, if you scored an overall 24 to 30, you may already be in the retirement window. You might have enough, and the question isn't really whether you're ready, it's what's holding you back. Now, if you're scored between an 18 and a 23, 1 or 2 of these areas need some clarity, usually purpose or financial confidence, and that's something you can work on. Now, if you scored under an 18, there's definitely some planning to do. Now is the time to start doing it though. Don't wait until it's too late and then you start asking these questions 5 years before you want to retire and realize I'm still scoring very, very low here. I am not even close to ready. So definitely start the planning now. Now, one note, if you're scoring this with a partner, do this separately and actually compare the scores. Those differences are going to spark some really important conversations that matter. So you know you're both confident going into retirement. All right. Once you have the information, here's what to do next. Now, as I mentioned, age 63 is a useful data point, but it's not necessarily your specific answer. Your number sits at the intersection of three different things: a body that can support the life you're actually planning, a financial picture that you trust, not just one that looks good on paper, and a clear sense of what you're retiring into, not just what you're walking away from. Now, the people who get this right aren't the ones who waited for every variable to be perfect. They're the ones who got honest about where they stood, closed the gaps that were closable, and then recognized when enough was enough, which can be harder than you think. Ultimately, you need to plan like you're going to choose your retirement date, but prepare like it could just happen to you instead. Because life doesn't always hand you the moment on your timeline. It consistently rewards people who are ready when that moment arrives. Now, drop your scorecard in the comments below. I would love to see where people land on this. I'd love to chat with you about it and maybe why you don't feel confident in any of these areas. And if your financial variable was the weak one, start with Empower's free retirement planner to get a real projection in front of you. Again, you can click the link below or just hit the QR code on the screen here, scan it and sign up, connect your accounts and see where you're at. And again, once you have that plan in place, if you want a deeper look into the investments that could build a retirement portfolio for you, check out the Zen income strategy. Again, I'll leave all the links in the description below so you can find access to all of these things. And if you want to explore a few investments that are geared toward long-term investors, be sure to check out this video right here where we break them all down.